And welcome to the Sleep is a Skill podcast over here at the Biohacking Congress. We're actually here in Austin, Texas. So I'm going to read a little information for you all in case you're curious of like, what is this thing? What are we doing? Okay, so we're excited to learn from great biohackers, doctors, and scientists, as well as explore different products and digital health devices. It's a life-changing weekend, and we recommend checking out Biohacking Congress website, biohackingcongress.com, and getting your ticket for the next Biohacking Congress in Miami. It's going to be October 20th through the 22nd of 2023. Okay, so aside from all that, thank you so much for sitting down to speak about, naturally, I'm biased, but my favorite topic, sleep, and I get the sense before we hit record that you are really, really a fan of this topic and have a lot to say. So just one, thank you for being willing to have this conversation, and two, just wanted to hear a little bit about how in the world you came to be that you are a stand for the type of products that you are creating now, and how and bridge the gap of how they might relate on this topic of sleep.
Well, first off, my name is Besner.
Yes.
And I am the co-founder and device developer of a company called Therasage.
Yes.
And we're a company that's about maybe 25 years old. We're philanthropically based. We're very socially conscious as a company. And we started when my daughter contracted Lyme disease. Mm-hmm. I'm a healthcare provider, and I have some skills in engineering and business and a couple other things, psychology. And so when she got sick, we aligned ourselves with a Lyme literate practitioner that was in New York, and we were positioned down in Florida. My family was young. This has happened when Julia was probably 12 to 13, like early teens. And then we aligned ourselves with a Lyme literate doctor. We were sort of traveling. They didn't have telemed. They didn't have the virtual practitioner model that we have today.
Sure.
Back then, we had the Lyme literate doctor in New York, and then a corresponding doctor in Florida, and then a neurologist and a pain doctor. And before long, my daughter had an entourage of doctors around her,
right.
And they were all corresponding or actually not talking to one another, which is another challenge in itself.
Sure.
But I quickly became aware that the really onus of someone that has chronically ill, you spend a small amount of time with the practitioner that gives you a protocol and a guidance, but the onus is really on the family and the individual for the healthcare. And so, I kind of looked at the way my daughter was expressing herself, and she had high levels of toxicity and inflammation, cognitive challenges, and pain. I focused on toxicity. I unpacked all the best methods to detox, and then discovered that there are frequencies of Sen energy, full spectrum, that actually will liberate all them and mobilize the toxins in your body. Wow, that's amazing. At that moment in time, 25 years ago, infrared therapy was only being used by sports medicine doctors to help players lower their pain and heal faster from injuries so they can get back on the field. And so all that stuff was important to me. I spent about 3 months, went to Asia, interviewed 65 factories, found a couple to work with, started developing devices that harnessed full spectrum infrared wavelengths for our own personal use. Our daughter started getting some really great results, and the practitioner, the teams around them saw that, and they asked for us to start to make these devices for them, which was really the birth of our company. And so we didn't have venture capital, we didn't have a big business plan, we just had we had a personal challenge, and we had an organic growth, and it's still that way today. So.
Amazing. Well, wow, what an origin story, and clearly the mission is there. And I'm curious if, as we venture into this topic of sleep, how in the world do you see that connected with, the work that you're doing now on the ground?
Well, I mean, you're the expert on sleep, but for all those people tuning in, we've become sort of semi-experts in different areas.
Sure.
And I'd really unpack the different kinds of benefits that full spectrum infrared light therapy, biophoton modulation, how that can actually help improve your body, your life. So the big one now, because we're in a toxic world, is how does infrared frequencies mobilize your toxins and help your body get detoxified?
Yeah.
But there are many systems of the body that actually work in conjunction. So we're like living in a world of compartmentalizing and reductionism. So we want to know the root cause and we want to know the exact thing that's causing it, but it doesn't really work like that. I mean, there are root causes, of course, but there may be more than one. Even though we're looking for one.
Yeah.
There may be
sure.
more than one. And it doesn't just affect one system in the body, it affects all systems.
Yeah.
And so, just in my orientation, one of my favorite or best mentors is a guy named Bob Marshall who left us a few years ago. And he's one of the top nutritionists in the world. And he said to me, Robbie, if I had the choice between a better night's sleep or the best nutrition in the world, I'd choose sleep every day of the week.
Yes.
So
yes,
there you
this
go.
Man.
You're back home
yes.
again.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to sleep. Why is that so important?
Yeah.
So you can really indulge everybody on that topic because you're
Sure.
an expert at it. But how does infrared, how does sunlight reorient your
Play
sleep?
the role. Absolutely.
Well, just referring back to my daughter's experience,
Yep.
she actually had a upside down circadian rhythm.
Sure.
For her, what happened was she lived in an apartment with 2 cats, and if it was 1 in the morning and a cat scurried across the end of her bed, she'd be woken up.
Yeah.
And rather than being able to go back to sleep, she'd be up all night. And then when the sun rose, she'd fall dead asleep.
Yep.
Which is completely opposite.
Yeah.
So again, we can expand on the effects of sunlight to the pineal gland and the natural production of hormones, serotonin and melatonin. This is a little deeper science.
Yeah.
And we don't need to go there right now.
Sure.
But sunlight plays a big part of what gets your bio clock and your sleep clock and, on track.
Yeah.
And so we became not sleep experts,
Yeah.
but we kind of understood why sleep is so important, and then what the role sunlight has in sleep, and then what role does infrared have to do with sunlight, because
Right.
infrared is actually a spectrum of many of the electromagnetic fields that come from the sun.
Right.
So UV is a spectrum, gamma and X-rays are, microwaves, radio waves, these are all come from our sun energy. But it turns out that infrared is actually considered the healing frequencies. And this is one of the reasons why, because it stimulates that circadian rhythm, it gets your clock back on track. Very important. So even though we're focusing, in this world, we mostly focus on detoxification because we're living in a toxic world. So how can infrared help that?
Sure.
What happens is you may come, it's kind of like living in Colorado. You go to Colorado maybe to ski, but you visit Colorado to ski, but you go to Colorado to enjoy the summer times.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's such an enchanting place, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way it is with infrared. You may be going for detox, or you may be going for weight loss, but what you're gonna get is a better night's sleep.
Yes.
In the process.
Absolutely.
So there is an interplay between detoxification and disrupting sleep patterns also.
Sure.
So we just mentioned circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
That's really important. That's your bioclock. And this is measurable, not
Right.
just in the way your body acts, which is what is considered symptomatic or asymptomatic, but also how that works in conjunction with the rest of your bodily functions. And so, for instance, between the hours of 12 and 4 in the morning, your glymphatic system starts to come into play. Your brain actually shrinks a little bit and is flushed with spinal fluid that acts like a car wash. And so actually we detox and we repair during that period of time.
Yes.
But the accentuated part is when we get into a delta or a deep REM sleep. And absent that, so many Lyme patients, they get quantity of sleep but not quality.
Yeah.
So they're not getting into that deep sleep where these special hormones are being produced, like growth hormone is one, that will never happen if you don't get into delta. And so how does infrared help that? Well, if we know we're going to be detoxifying, and part of the detox process, as you get less toxic, it kind of frees up all these other systems to come back online again, which are your sleep patterns.
Yeah.
And we also use binders in our process. So a binder is basically a biosponge, and so sauna mobilizes toxins. Most of us are toxic because we're living in a toxic world. When you mobilize a toxin, and a binder acts as a sponge, it grabs the toxin, and if your detox pathways like lymphatic system, peeing and pooping and sweating are all online, then we can efficiently get your poisons out. And now we're talking about getting a better night's sleep, which puts you in the position where you're actually getting that deeper sleep.
Yes.
And it's measurable now. People
Yeah.
wear the Oura rings, and you have one on? Yep. And we use heart rate variability to measure how your autonomic nervous system is digesting infrared. And so categorically, I can say this because I'm a bioscientist, that infrared will reorient your bioclock. It will shift you from sympathetic dominance, which is that fight and flight, really edgy at the end of your chair, to being calm and relaxed, and we need all of that. More of that, right?
Yes, we need that. And especially,
by the way, these aren't very expensive. Like being relaxed is an expensive modality. We can actually do that. And breathing good air, getting good sunlight, that is really not really expensive.
Yes.
I'm just playing with you.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
These are things that we can do. They're attainable.
No, it's so, and I love that you're speaking to this because we see this all the time. Everyone that we work with does wear the Oura Ring, so they're required to wear those throughout the entire time that we're working together, the different cohorts and what have you. And we'll see that so many people are trending in that kind of sympathetic dominant state, and often we know that so much trouble with sleep can have some element of hyper-aroused brain activity, where it's coming from. I mean, that becomes the puzzle to kind of unwrap, but what you're speaking to can be so powerful and measurable. So I'm curious too, we get a ton of people saying, all right, so I want to either invest in a sauna or now I have a sauna, but how do I use that time-wise, to maximize the sleep results? So they'll say, all right, so I know I want to drop my body temperature going into sleep, so can I benefit from that paradoxical response thereafter, the heat exposure? But then they'll say, they get all nervous. Well, when do I put it in the evening? If I do it in the evening, do you have suggestions there?
No, I have the answer.
Yes! Okay. See, this is why you're perfect. Fantastic.
Well, we've created not just great devices, we feel, that's said humbly, but also we deliver on time, and we've created all the health-related sciences, the applied sciences, to teach all of our clients. In fact, we have a free coaching service we call TheraHealth. It's a subdivision of Therasage, our company.
What?
And it's designed with a staff of health providers, integrated functional doctors. We have a movement specialist, an emotional healer. We have a top chef that will teach you culinary skills and offer nutrition. These are all the elements of health.
That's amazing.
So when you buy a product from Therasage, you also get a free pass into this whole TheraHealth division.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
All right.
We just want to deliver a full experience. How often do people even come to this convention where you probably have an eclectic group of some of the greatest minds in the most innovative kinds of biotech, right?
Yeah.
So people buy the devices, they get them home, and they don't know how to use them.
Yes.
So we think that's important, and we want to make sure that everybody gets their value.
Oh, that's great. And you also have a nice kind of price point range too, to make it more achievable for many groups, right?
Yeah, it's a big thing. Personal story. Back to my daughter. Some months we were spending $30,000 to $40,000 a month between medications, traveling to doctors around the country, their fees, all that stuff. And so we're very conscious of price. And another goal is to try to get our devices in everyone's home, make them affordable. People before profit. What a concept, right?
What a concept. Right. Wow. Okay, that's fantastic.
All right, wait, I want to answer your question.
Thank you.
So back to sleep.
Get back to the answer.
So the best time to do sauna, actually, optimally, is to do it first thing in the morning when you wake up.
Oh,
similar to the way our ancestors did when we lived in caves on tents and on the land. We woke up to sunlight, and that's what infrared sauna is sunlight.
With the infrared, sure.
But just even 2 weeks ago, we had a truck driver named Joe who called us up and said, hey, Robbie, I drive a truck and I get up at 4 in the morning. I'm not going to get up at 3 to do my sauna.
Yeah.
It's not practical.
Right.
By the way, if I were to choose practical over optimal, applications, I'd always choose practical.
Right.
Because we want this to be it to be a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Not just because I'm sick or I have to readjust my sleep pattern. Yeah. But let's talk about real change. Not just for yourself, but what's the change? How's that going to influence your kids that are watching you and them to their kids?
Sure.
That's how you really change things. And so this is really important. Our interview is important because I want to be able to tell people that you can do this.
Yes.
Get inspired. It's not that difficult and nor not that expensive.
Yeah.
But for Joe, I said, well, what can you do? If you can't get up at 4, or you can't do it before you leave, well, I get home at 5:36, have dinner, then I usually sit back and relax, watch TV. So the real answer is somewhere between an hour to 2 hours before bedtime.
Sure.
You can do your full detox sauna session. And the reason why that is, and in the beginning when I'm assuming everybody's toxic because the world we're living in, but in the beginning, the detox phase, even if you do it in the morning, one of the detox side effects is lethargy, feeling tired.
Yeah.
Because your poisons are coming out of your body.
Right.
And we actually mobilizing them from wherever they're stored, and then we get most of them out, but some of them we have to come back the next day, and we kind of peck away at getting those poisons out. Plus, we're getting poisoned again every day. So my goal would be to lower your pain, lower your toxic level.
Load. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So if you do your sauna today, we can get rid of what your body assimilated yesterday and start pecking away at what you've had or stored from days or years before. Now, for Joe, I said, well, let's just do it at 7 or 8 o'clock. Goes to bed at 10. And now in the beginning, when you're toxic, again, one of the detox symptoms, we call them recovery reactions, is to feel more lethargic.
Sure.
So in the beginning, if you did it right before bed, you wake up in the morning like I do every time I do my sleep protocol. I wake up in a pool of drool in my pillow. That's like how deep, soundly sleepy I am. But you don't do that? You're a sleep specialist.
Well, now I'm already thinking, like, I wonder, have you done mouth tape? I have some questions. Oh my God, I want to know.
Yeah, well, okay, so add this to your repertoire, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's
amazing.
So pool of drool. Anyway, so
check. Okay.
So in the beginning, you're going to get that response.
Okay.
But as you become less toxic, that same treatment is actually going to energize you.
That's amazing.
So that's part of the primal healing. When you do it in the morning, you're opening and bringing all these systems online.
Sure.
And so you're awake and you're alive and you're vibrant and everything is talking to one another. That's just make believe, and I'm not really making believe. But your body is like a Lamborghini or a Maserati.
Let's go.
Do you want to
it.
rev your engine for your race at 9 p.m. before bed or at 9 a.m. when you start your day?
Sure. Yeah.
So that's the concept. But again, practical versus optimal. For Joe, practically, it's best to do it at night. Better to do it once a day, whether it's at night or not, than not do it at all.
Okay, fantastic. No, that's helpful. And do you suggest because you mentioned the binders, do you have any call outs about, or is it a whole protocol that they can follow when they join that group, part of when they get
Oh, yeah.
So that's
it's not just about our devices, it's about all the things the tools that you need, the information you need as well, to guide you.
Yeah.
Our goal isn't to do the medical allopathic model. We don't want you codependent on us. We want to share this information so that you can fly your plane.
Yes.
And we actually track you for 12 weeks. So it's not just one free call. We'll say, hey, call us back in 3 or 4 weeks, or dial this number if you feel some adverse effects that you're not familiar with and you're concerned about. So we are really healthcare practitioners.
That's fantastic. Amazing. Okay, so then my next question around all that would be protocols, because then certainly it might just be our audience because they are often trending tired and they're trying to get it right. They're trying to, bring in these protocols and they just want a good night's sleep. So then they'll say things like, all right, well, how long should I be in that sauna? I'm busy, I've got kids. So are there ranges that you suggest? What does this all look like for that?
Simple. 30 minutes.
Yeah.
At 130 degrees Fahrenheit.
Beautiful. Amazing.
That's your goal.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're going for heavy metals or if you have Lyme disease and you want to raise your core temperature, which is called hypothermia, then we have different protocols for that. If you're a weekend warrior and you want to sort of integrate this into your workout scheduling, or performance oriented. And most of the people here at Biohackers, by the way, are these guys, they're already feeling good, and what they want to do is stay feeling good and keep dialing it up.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's an area that I'm completely intrigued with. So we were born, our company, the genesis was on infectious disease and chronic disease. So we're kind of experts in that in terms of our applications. And about maybe 6 years ago, I got interested in optimal health. I've always been intrigued with it, but not enough to have it on my vision board.
Okay.
6 to 8 years ago, I started to really zero in on optimal health. And I thought, again, back to the Maserati, if I can improve the speed, like an optimal performer, like a pro athlete, they measure their performance on the field.
Right.
And in the training camps. They know incrementally.
Yeah.
And if I could improve the health of Tom Brady, who's like that Lamborghini, then what am I doing for the Caddies and the Chevys and the Fords and who knows what people are driving these days? It's probably going to be an e-car very shortly.
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is that's how dramatic this technology that we're advancing is in terms of tuning your body up.
So
it really
great.
makes a difference.
Okay, that's amazing. And one other question we get a lot for people when they start searching to find they want to bring in heat therapy and infrared and this whole world, but then they say, oh, but I'm fearful of EMFs. Curious if you can speak to that, because my understanding is your company is quite well versed in that topic.
Well put.
Yeah.
So we actually one of the early adapters on the EMF thing, and I'm connected to Source, and I don't mind saying that.
Yeah.
And so most of my creations are divinely driven; they're given to me, and I've just become a vessel, more or less, is the way I see it. And about 17 years ago, I started to have recurring dreams, and it was that here we are making these devices that you plug into a wall, and anything you plug into a wall with alternating current will generate a magnetic field. So how does the body reconcile the man-made exogenous frequencies like EMF, and we're actually diving deeper. We're remediating not only EMF, but ELF, which is extreme low frequencies. That's dirty electricity.
Sure.
And how does that affect your body? So we were the first to bring this to, not that whole technology, but in terms of employing it into infrared devices.
Yeah, wow.
And so 17 years ago I said, I don't really know. Yeah. And I had no idea that, cell phone industry would blow up and everything, cars and Bluetooth this and that, and faster gaming and 3, 4, 5G. And if you think those cell towers are just warehousing 5G networks, you're wrong. The government is now employing 7 and 10G on the same telephone poles or micro towers. So we are being flooded with these frequencies that our bodies just can't interpret. And they really interrupt our brain waves, neuroplasticity. It's affecting our kids. I think that's why autism and many of the PTSDs and all those kind of psychosocial related challenges are at such steep trends and aren't coming down. So we make a difference with all that stuff.
Amazing. And at an affordable price point. That's a big deal. I come from a background with not a lot of money and being around people that didn't have a lot of money and dealing with health issues and having a sense that they don't necessarily have access to some of these things that could make a difference, and to provide this but be mindful and thinking the whole story through and ensuring that, because there's nothing worse than you invest in something and then you're sitting in this thing and years, and then later on you realize I was actually radiating myself. Great
not pushback, but great response, because basically this dream was bugging me so much, I had to do something with it. And we had become experts. I thought at that moment, well, whatever this is, I don't know, but I know that I don't know how the body's going to actually be able to manage the conflict. Now we're knowing that EMF is harmful for the body in many ways. But back then, 25 years ago, people didn't know that. No. And so 17 years ago, when I started having these recurrent dreams, I said, all right, well, fine. I don't really know what it all means, but let me just become an expert at remediating and blocking, which was the only way that things were done then, so that I would take the EMF equation off the table, and then your body just would receive the full beauty of infrared frequencies, sunlight extraction, and then whatever that does for your body, including helping you sleep, would do its thing, right? So that was my idea then. But even though, and I'll speak to you candidly about it, I wasn't happy with that because what happens as a developer, a device developer, and I'm looking at it from a global view, the money is in the faster gaming and the faster networks and all that. The people, the two agencies that manage those activities manage actually the legal limits of these frequencies, like the intensities and the levels of the frequencies, is the FTC, which is the Trade Commission, and the FCC, which is the Communication Division. Guess how many people are health-minded that on the panels that decide what levels?
Yeah.
Close your eyes.
Oh,
What do you
God.
see? Okay.
None.
That's the answer.
Yes.
Okay. So point being that we're left to our own. We have these devices, we love it, and we think that the government's protecting us, but they're not on this level for whatever reason, and we're not going to spend time on that right now.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So now we talk about today. And about 3 years ago, I got very intrigued with harmonizing. And so the way that we fix EMF today is we shield and we block, and we also harmonize. And harmonizing is creating frequencies, and we imprint into materials, and we have them on our cell phones. We broke out that technology. First, it started with our sauna and our healing pads, and then we started to understand the trend and how, because at that point, cell phones were blowing up and everything. And so I said, no, this is a bigger problem than just the localized problem that we were talking about our devices and how it affects our bodies. Now let's talk about globally, which way is the direction going? And so we broke out our techniques to fix our own devices and made them standalone products. So we make solutions to ways to remediate your phones, your laptops, your wireless networks, your homes. Okay. We also make these applications. Okay. And what it does is it generates a field. So we have an energy field around us.
Sure.
And when we're young, I'm talking about infants, the child's body field, biofield, actually can extend, and it's been measured, close to 700 feet around them. By the time they're 20 years old, it's collapsed to about to where you can get the tip of your fingers.
Really?
Now, when you're surrounded with EMF, that biofield to protect you is getting beaten up, and eventually that shield starts to come back like this, and then it's against your body, and then it doesn't disappear, but it just becomes another stressor in a very stressful, toxic world. And that affects your immune system, and that affects your sleep patterns.
Sure.
So EMF is a big thing. And when we talk about, and when I speak on stage, one of the slides I talk about is creating a healthy home. And then I reflect on your bedroom.
Yes.
That should be pitch black and EMF free. And in a cool, you mentioned that earlier, in a cool temperature. So even though we're making infrared products, if you're using them, and we do have some that you can take to bed with you, we suggest that you lower the temperature at night, but during the day you can keep it at any temperature that's comfortable for you. Yeah. And so you get your therapy, but you can also combine your therapy with sleeping patterns and so forth, and fill that time in.
Oh, wow. So, amazing. Okay, so very forward thinking and mindful of this, because fortunately, people might say, oh, yeah, he's making all this sense. I'm going to just go buy any old sauna, go to Costco, go to whatever. And unfortunately, that can be doing much more harm than good. An argument for in that conversation with EMFs and all that you just spoke to, we have a lot of concerns that would be counterproductive. So the fact that you're a company that's taking a stand for this for so long, which is very rare to have in this conversation, is really, really exciting. So I really acknowledge you for that. And I'm sure people listening are going to want to know, like, after hearing you, clearly health is something that's so important, not just for you, but for your family, and now for all these people that you've helped support, that are part of your, patronage with your company, et cetera. So I'm curious, we always ask 4 questions for each person, so I'm really excited to learn from you. So our first question is, what does your nightly sleep routine look like right now? And I'm sure you're traveling, you're speaking, you're all these different things. But what might we see? What might we learn from that nightly sleep routine?
Okay, so absent being on the road, because there's a different routine for the road.
Sure.
But we can adjust that too.
Okay.
But when I'm home in my normal sleeping pattern, generally I go to bed between 9 and 10 o'clock.
Okay, perfect.
I wake up without an alarm clock, about 4:30 in the morning. Okay. So that's my normal sleep range. Yep. Generally knowing that I'm going to bed around 9. I generally eat dinner. I don't eat after 8 o'clock. Perfect. So that also helps with sleep, because digestion in particular. I don't drink anything that's carbonated or caffeinated in the evening. Nice. And I am one that can drink like a double espresso and go right to sleep. So it's not the caffeine. Right. Because I'm addressing the deep sleep. Yes. Again, quality sleep, not quantity. Absolutely. So that's super important. Yeah. Anyway. I'm glad you distinguish that too, because so many people say, oh, I'm out. I can have a pot of coffee and I'm out, but not really getting exactly what you just spoke to. It just prevents you from getting to that phase. Yeah. yes, you're going to fall asleep. And many people say, I don't have a problem drinking, alcohol and going to bed.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to fall asleep, but you're not going to get your brain to shut down, which is what's the thing.
Right.
It's really
Sure.
the end game. I turn off all my devices. So I
Great.
don't get influenced with blue light,
Yes.
which is very, very significant because the retina is just a open doorway directly to your brain,
Yes.
your optic nerve.
That's well said.
And so having that blue light stimulation within an hour or two before bed will prevent your brain from getting into that parasympathetic, which is the sleep or calm state, theta, which is your hypnotic state after that,
Sure.
then delta and REM. So it prevents your brain from moving through those stages to get that deep sleep. And so I just do that, and then generally I'm reading or I go do some affirmations.
Nice.
I have another rule. I don't go to bed mad at my wife any night.
Oh, very nice. Okay,
So I wanna
that's
go,
huge. Yeah.
Well, I want to, what you manifest in your dreams becomes your reality.
Yes.
And so my last thoughts should be happy and healthy and full of love. And then that carries through your dream state. And then you wake up the next day refreshed. And that's actually a question we ask in clinic. So I do talk to people and say, hey, tell me about your sleep patterns. And do you wake up tired? So people, I get 8 hours, but I wake up tired. That just means you're not getting that quality sleep we're talking about. That's how easy we can describe this. I don't need apnea and sleep studies and all this stuff to figure it out.
Sure.
Are you tired when you wake up?
Yeah.
Duh. Okay, tune in. What's question number 2?
Okay, beautiful. I love that. And clearly, this is all working for you too. You can feel the positivity. So that practice of ending your night, closing your night with that positivity, gratitude, the workability with your partner. Clearly, it's setting you up for success. So awesome. So our second question is, what does your morning sleep routine look like? And we make the argument that what you do in your morning impacts your setting yourself up powerfully for your sleep that night. And so just curious how you think about your morning, what that looks like.
Well, I don't think about my morning. I don't think about sleep in reference to my morning.
Yes.
Because I just woke up. But actually, what I'm thinking about is my morning routine, which isn't really about sleep. It's about, I do my sauna first thing in the morning. So 4:30, like by 5 o'clock, I'm in that sauna.
Okay, great.
And there I'm doing affirmations and I'm asking for forgiveness. That's why I'm in the sauna for an hour. I probably should be in for 2 hours.
So like a confessional in there?
Oh yeah, totally get there. I set my intentions for the day. I'm mindful. And it's my quiet time because the planet really hasn't, my world, I'm in South Florida, so the sun hasn't risen yet. So it gives me an opportunity to really reflect on my dream state from the night before and what my collective consciousness is for the day and, what I hope to achieve. To kind of work on all that orientation and I
love that. And when the sun does rise, because you're waking up so much earlier than when the sun actually rises, when the sun does rise, do you have a ritual for that? Because that's part of our conversation for how your mornings go and how that can impact your nights. So just that bright light, that bright shot of light, and how that can set you up for
all right, so
circadian rhythm.
You can listen to this, but don't get jealous, okay? Because I'm a cyclist, so 3 days a week, and I live in Florida, and I'm about 4.5 miles from the beach. And so 3 days a week, a minimum of 3 days a week, I get up around 5 o'clock after my sauna stuff. And by 6, I'm in my car with my bike, and I go down to the beach. And I have what's called a fat bike. It's 4.5-inch tires. And I ride on the sand. I ride on the sand, which is quite a workout for 7 miles. And then I return. I take most of my clothes off, I jump in the ocean, I watch the sunrise. And so I'm back at the office by 8 o'clock, and I have been alive and up and awake and conscious and for 3.5 to 4 hours.
So great.
Yeah, so that's my deal in the morning.
I love that call out. Don't get jealous because that is a great morning routine. Fantastic. Okay, so you do that. And then we look at what would we see visually on your nightstand or your proverbial nightstand if you are traveling or what have you, if it's like ambiance, gadgets, apps, anything there.
Well, it's actually a good question. We do make a device that it's called the Thera03.
Oh.
It's an accessory to the sauna because the primary purpose is to superoxygenate your blood.
Okay.
But there's a second feature on it that spews out negative ions about 1,700 times more than it's in the air. A negative ion happens in nature when rain comes through the atmosphere or water moves over land. Like for instance, at the shore of the ocean, when that wave hits the sand, that friction frees up these electrons, which is basically earth charge. So that's like earthing.
Yeah.
And which is incredible to get you into a dream state. So as a hack to add to what you normally do, you could bring in negative ions. You don't have to buy our device, but using grounding technology will bring the earth energy into the body, and that's going to balance out your body battery because we have a positive and negative charge for every cell. Most of us are positive charge because of the lighting and air handling and electric cars and all that. In modern world. In the rural areas, it's a little bit less prevalent, but talking about living in a city, major city, you have challenges with that contributes to the stress and that actually rolls into why we don't sleep so well. So just if you do have those challenges, aside from using supplements like ashwagandha and things like that helps kind of bring you into a somber state, just earthing technology, and that is amazing. So guided meditation would be really good, using binaural beats, which actually creates better coherence between left and right brain activity. This is a way to slow your brain down and move you into that theta delta state. Negative ions, which is earthing technology, is another way.
So good. I love those. Okay. Yeah, because I don't think many people have called that out on that question, which is great. And the last question, I'm very curious to hear from you. It's what has made the biggest change to your sleep game, or said another way, what's been the biggest aha moment for you in managing your sleep?
Okay. So I have to think through this.
I appreciate that.
That's a really good question.
Oh, good.
We, in my own kind of crazy little world, I developed a heart rate variability program, so I can actually measure my sleep patterns in actually a little better way than the Oura Ring. Oura Ring is fantastic, but it takes a snapshot. My technology actually records 6 minutes of your actual heart rate through a bunch of sensors, and it's taking a live electrocardiogram. And then we've created an array of algorithmic or mathematical ways to take the data, which is called the RR ratio, which really just records your heart rate, the rhythm of your heart rate. So I can measure your autonomic nervous system and actually show that we're transitioning you into a parasympathetic state. It's one of the things we look for in all of our devices we make. And so that is really, and by the way, heart rate variability is becoming one of the more non-invasive ways to analyze things. So I know the Oura Ring does. And so you can take a snapshot. You can see what's happening for real. And when you have that ability from a diagnostic point of view, then you can understand what you need to alter and what set your goals. So if your REM and your deep sleep isn't really what you want it to be, then what are the ways? And that's what this discussion is about. So it brings us back to you, Mollie. So here we are, we're talking about the ways to do it. So first you have to identify you have a problem. Maybe the easiest way is, do you wake up tired? But then what does that mean? And then you can get an Oura Ring, or you can look for diagnostics that can actually show you exactly where your deficiencies are. Just like if you took a lab test on your blood, my triglycerides are too high and I don't have enough zinc or something.
Whatever,
right? Now you can see what your real pattern is. And then you go, okay, let's just Google this one, or check in with you, because you're the expert, then figure out what it is and how to set that up. And I have to just add this, because earlier I talked about sequencing, but what we've discovered is that the sequencing and the way you dose stuff makes all the difference in your result. And so the order that you're doing things in, and also the quantity or quality of stuff that you do, whatever that is in your protocol, can make the difference between just an average result or knock the leather off the ball result. And we're just going, go big or go home. So if you're going to do it, I call this place that we're in as Earth Camp. And we have one round in Earth Camp. So why not make
great.
the
I love
best
that.
of
Yeah.
your stuff, your time here. And that's meeting you, and that's talking about this and bringing this technology to the forefront of people's minds. And it doesn't, it's not an arm and a leg. Certainly whatever, even the most expensive hacks you buy is still cheaper than what it costs to get sucked into the healthcare system and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That you may never come out of.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic.
Be strong, stay strong.
Yes, exactly.
Get lots of sleep.
Yes. And
Quality.
did we leave anything out at all, do you think, in our conversation around infrared sauna, heat, HRV, sleep, all of those things? Do you think we hit on the major
Yeah, I think we were good.
Okay.
But they need to find us. Do you
Yes.
post all that?
Yeah, don't worry. So that's my beautifully segued into our final question, which is, how can people, because clearly out of this conversation, they're going to want to know more about you. I mean, you've got just this clear, you're living your brand. And so they're going to want to follow you and what's coming. So what is the best way to do that?
We have Therasage.com. So that's THERASAGE.com. We have a very active Instagram, which is infrared, Therasage Infrared, awesome. Facebook group, 2 YouTube channels. You can get us at support, SUPPORT, at Therasage.com. We have an 800 number, 888-416-4441. You can go on our website and you can actually make an appointment on top. It's free with our health advisory team.
Oh, great.
So, I mean, there's just, it's
lots
a resource center.
Sure. Oh.
And we are integrated, functional. We see the world that way. And so we're looking to fix you. And that means that we're bringing other great tech, biotech, and different hacks, the way to stack those hacks to optimize your experience.
Sure.
So we're really thinking about you holistically, not just our little piece, but it's our little piece, how it fits in your body, and what other collateral biotech might support your journey.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Definitely check out all of their things. We'll have them all in the show notes, but also especially your Instagram. I've certainly seen there's lots of activity on there, all kinds of ways to get involved in the conversation, which is really just a rare thing for us to see in this type of world. So I really appreciate that. And just thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom and knowledge and just the difference you're making in the world. It's really, really clear and really grateful.
Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. Great being here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Amazing. We did it.
Stay tuned.